What if the biggest threat to your future isn't AI taking over, isn't runaway inflation, and isn't even your micromanaging boss? What if it's that ice-cold thought that hits you at 2 in the morning when the house is quiet and your brain decides to run a marathon, and you suddenly realize that one missed paycheck, one surprise trip to the ER, or one polite little layoff email could collapse the entire life you've spent a decade or more grinding to build? Most people just call that normal adult life. But let's be honest, that's the rat race with every fluorescent light turned on. Once you see it that clearly, without the filters or the denial, you can't unsee it. You can't hit the snooze button on that realization. Let's talk numbers. Not to scare you, but because optimism doesn't pay the rent and positive thinking doesn't cover an emergency. Recent surveys are sobering. One from ADP found that nearly 2/3 of American workers, 64%, are living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't a fringe issue. It's the quiet reality for the majority. Millions of people are burning through almost their entire income just to stay in place, all while telling themselves they're doing just fine. And here's a statistic that should make your stomach tighten. A recent report found that nearly 40% of Americans are unprepared to handle a $400 emergency expense. The median emergency buffer in this country sits around $500. Think about that for a second. A single car repair, one bad tire, a cracked phone screen, and that entire safety net is gone. For millions, the line between stable and crisis mode is thinner than a credit card. You feel this pressure every single day, even if you never say the words out loud. The alarm goes off at 6:30. The commute drains your energy before your workday even starts. A boss decides what your sharpest, most productive hours are worth, and you collapse on the couch at night scrolling through curated images of other people's lives, while you make the same promise you've been making for years. Next year, I'll finally figure it all out. And somehow, next year keeps saying the same thing right back to you. The real nightmare here isn't just the exhaustion, it's the time theft. Years start to blur together while you're waiting for someday, like it's an appointment scheduled on a calendar that doesn't exist. The trap doesn't slam shut all at once. It tightens slowly, through a series of choices that feel completely reasonable in the moment. That raise you celebrated, it quietly disappears into a slightly higher rent and a deserved car upgrade. Those subscriptions you forgot you even had, they're on autopilot, draining your account month after month. Credit cards promise you convenience right now while carving out pieces of your future paycheck with interest that grows faster than your salary ever will. Your income inches up, your freedom stays completely flat. This is the part of the money game that school never ever taught you. The rat race isn't about being lazy or making bad decisions. It's about being fragile. If losing your one job would instantly flip your life into emergency mode, missed bills, maxed out cards, awkward conversations about borrowing money, then that job was never security. It was leverage. Leverage held over you. That leverage is what keeps smart, capable people sitting in roles they hate, delaying the life they actually want to live, quietly telling themselves that this is just what adulthood looks like. Our education system trained us to be reliable, to be obedient, and to be efficient inside systems designed by other people. But it skipped the most important part of the curriculum: how obligations compound faster than income, how risk is quietly shifted from institutions onto the shoulders of individuals, and how doing everything right can still leave you one bad month away from total collapse. And there's another layer people don't like to talk about. So many people stay trapped not just because of the money, but because of health insurance. In this country, losing your job doesn't just mean losing your income, it means you're gambling with your family's medical safety. And so people stay, they tolerate burnout, they put their dreams on hold, and they call it being responsible. Now here's where most people make the next mistake. Once they see how fragile the whole system is, they assume the only solution must be something extreme. Quit tomorrow, gamble on crypto, copy some influencer who claims they escaped the 9 to 5 overnight. But most of the time, those moves just trade one kind of fragility for another. Real escape doesn't start with rebellion, it starts with stability. The first shift is boring, unsexy, and unbelievably powerful. You track every single dollar for 30 days, not to punish yourself, not to feel guilty, but to remove the blindness, because what you don't see controls you. And once the numbers are right there in front of you, the story they tell becomes impossible to ignore. That's when the leaks show up. The forgotten subscriptions, the slow lifestyle creep, the small daily spends that have quietly eaten your last 3 raises. You start cutting what drains you without actually making your life any better. Then you build a buffer. Not luxury money, not retirement money, just 1 to 3 months of essential living expenses. Just enough so the next curveball from life doesn't force you into a panic. This is the moment most people never talk about. When fear stops driving your decisions, your brain actually starts working again. You can finally think clearly instead of just reacting to short-term pressure. That breathing room is called optionality. It's the ability to choose. Most people never reach it because they keep chasing a higher income while remaining just as fragile. It's like flooring the gas pedal with the emergency brake still on and wondering why the scenery never changes. Once you have that stability, the game finally shifts. You stop being only a consumer keeping the system alive, and you start becoming a producer and an owner. This does not mean you quit your job tomorrow or try to build the next billion-dollar startup. It means redirecting even a small portion of your energy into things that can scale beyond your time. Trading hours for dollars has a built-in ceiling. Ownership is what breaks that ceiling. This is where our education failed us completely. It taught us how to earn, but not how to own. It taught us how to comply, but not how to build. And the great irony is that the internet has torn down most of the old gatekeepers, yet most of us are still playing by rules that were written for a world that no longer exists. The goal was never just more money, it was fewer strings attached to your choices, fewer nights where fear overrides your logic, and fewer moments where one bad email could derail your entire life. Freedom isn't about yachts or supercars. It's about waking up in the morning knowing that the day belongs to you. The people who actually escape this cycle aren't loud or flashy. They move quietly. They reduce their fragility first. They lock in stability. They build that optionality. And only then do they shift towards ownership while everyone else is still sprinting on the hamster wheel. But from the outside, it looks boring, until you realize that boring beats trapped every single time. The rat race doesn't end by running faster. It ends when you finally realize the game was never designed for you to win. And once you see that clearly, the only real question left is whether you're going to keep playing by the old rules or start building your own exit. And that's the breakdown. If you learned something new, leave a like and subscribe, but more importantly, drop a comment with what we should break down next, since these videos are driven by your requests. And until next time, stay curious and keep learning.